Dangerous for the World Cup or for the Olympics, where they have Olympic overthrow, right? But for the World Cup in particular, because they're playing in so many cities, we won't allow it to we'll move it around a little.
Soccer's world governing body is sending a strong message to President Trump about the 2026 World Cup games. The vice president of FIFA reacted to the president's claim that he can move matches out of U.S. cities that he considers dangerous. FIFA's vice president said football is bigger than any country.
With all due respect to current world leaders, football is bigger than them, and football will survive their regime, their government, their slogans.
This is wonderful, and this is an area where Mexico, Canada, and our third co-host,
yes, right.
the other president, we are totally aligned in our excitement, enthusiasm for the beautiful game
right.
and co-hosting in a sign of friendship. So thank you very much. This is wonderful. I'm going to put it right here.
Of course, Prime Minister, I brought you a little souvenir. No, it's not a souvenir actually. It's a ticket. It's your ticket because you have, of course, to come for the opening game here in Canada. As you can see, row 1, seat number 1. And ticket number 0001, of course, for you, with your name. 12th of June, 2026.
In Toronto.
Absolutely.
Don't forget. And
with Canada playing as well.
With Canada playing as well, which is an honor. And of course, our other matches in Canada will be in
Vancouver. Exactly. Vancouver and Toronto, the two host cities, two beautiful cities.
Formidable. Merci beaucoup.
Merci. Thank you.
Crowds online are begging FIFA to make a move no one thought possible, shifting America's World Cup north. Has the United States already lost control of the 2026 tournament before it even begins? Fans chanting hashtag Boycott USA 2026 say yes, and sponsors are quietly watching the fallout. Behind the noise, faces new questions about safety policies, travel access, and the integrity of fan attendance, areas where Canada and Mexico now hold clear advantages with smoother entry rules and reliable infrastructure. And as those debates intensify, something bigger is taking shape online. Before we get into it, we just want to thank you for watching. And if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe to Canada Connect for more updates like this one. The fan revolt that started it all. Nobody expected fans to start asking for a World Cup that wouldn't center on the United States, yet that's exactly what erupted online. Confusion turned into outrage when global travel communities began filling up with posts from supporters who said they couldn't even get a U.S. visa appointment before the first kickoff. Timelines stretching beyond 300 days, and in some regions nearing 400, filled Reddit threads and fan forums. Fans from Nigeria, India, and Brazil shared screenshots showing that their earliest possible interview dates were deep into the following year. Travel agents started advising clients to look instead at matches in Vancouver or Mexico City. What began as logistical frustration quickly hardened into collective anger. Hashtags like hashtag Boycott USA 2026 trended, not purely out of politics, but because football fans felt excluded from an event meant to unite the world. By midsummer, that chaos found direction. Fans started organizing spreadsheets comparing match dates and entry procedures, highlighting which host cities were most accessible. Volunteers posted visa guides, tracked airfare gaps, and helped others reroute through Canada to sidestep U.S. entry altogether. Online spaces that once traded stickers or match predictions started looking more like grassroots coordination hubs. On Reddit, planning threads ballooned overnight. TikTok creators remixed FIFA slogans, mocking United 2026 by suggesting Divided 2026 instead. Humor and solidarity became tools of protest. It wasn't led by politicians or pundits. It was ordinary supporters pushing back against what they saw as an uneven playing field. The most personal stories came from fans who had saved for years. A Brazilian supporter explained how she paid for flights to Miami months in advance, only to learn her tourist visa interview wouldn't happen until 2027. Across Africa and parts of Asia, others said the costs had spiraled further. Some were told to provide visa bonds under a new pilot policy aimed initially at applicants from countries such as Malawi and Zambia, deposits that could reach $15,000. Add to that a newly introduced $250 visa integrity fee, and the total burden made travel nearly impossible for many lifelong fans. Groups who had attended every tournament since the early 2000s suddenly found themselves priced out or locked out entirely. What had started as a dream trip was now another symbol of exclusion. Football influencers noticed next. Popular YouTubers, who usually focus on player stats, began dedicating entire segments to discussing safety concerns, gun violence, and the perception of hostility reflected in U.S. policy debates. The discussion widened from paperwork to principle. Should the world's biggest tournament be hosted in a place so hard to enter? Each viral video added pressure. The boycott was no longer just a slogan, it became a data point. Although no platform has published exact sales figures, early tracking by fan ticket groups showed consistent interest in Canadian and Mexican venues, rising notably faster than in the US. The narrative was shifting, and FIFA could see it unfold in real time. Governments noticed too. Canadian officials emphasized their full access commitment, noting multi-year visitor visas and no nationality restrictions for World Cup attendees. Mexican tourism offices launched promotion campaigns inviting everyone without barriers. Fans latched on. Comment sections filled with people calling Canada the real home of 2026, citing openness, safety, and simplicity as reasons they felt genuinely welcome. Human rights groups joined in, reminding FIFA that inclusivity isn't just a slogan, it's written into its host obligations. Restrictive systems, they argued, threaten the very spirit of a global game. That sentiment is now measurable. Travel data, online coordination, and shifting fan enthusiasm all point in the same direction, away from U.S. venues and toward the neighbors who appear more ready to host the world. And as more sponsors quietly start to notice the same patterns, the next question becomes whether FIFA itself is seeing what's coming. Inside FIFA's contingency map. Inside FIFA, planners aren't ignoring the growing unrest. Over the last year, internal discussions in Zurich have turned increasingly focused on risk, not in headline-grabbing terms, but in spreadsheets and planning memos that deal with access, security, and attendance stability. Officials familiar with the process say the conversation isn't about punishing any host nation, but about how to ensure the 2026 tournament delivers consistent full house crowds and seamless travel for tens of thousands of fans. That concern has already led FIFA to quietly revisit its existing contingency mechanisms, which allow it to reassign certain matches if a host nation fails to meet core access or logistics guarantees. There's no evidence of any secret scoring system or rankings between the United States, Canada, and Mexico. What exists instead are clauses common in multi-country events, provisions that allow FIFA to shift matches if political, safety, or infrastructural issues threaten attendance. Those fallbacks were originally meant for natural disasters or emergencies, but people involved in logistics say that visa delays and entry barriers have now become part of the internal risk briefings. One source described it as scenario modeling, an exercise that estimates where the largest disruptions to ticketed fans might occur and what backup venues could handle late-stage matches if needed. The North American tournament, that kind of modeling naturally points north and south. Canada and Mexico both operate more flexible visitor entry systems and have already completed substantial infrastructure upgrades. Canada, for instance, projects up to $3.8 billion in economic output from its share of the tournament and has streamlined entry requirements for attendees holding valid match tickets. Mexico's major cities, including Guadalajara and Monterrey, have ongoing renovation programs linked to stadium accessibility and transport reliability. Planners see both as buffers, not replacements, but capable fallback zones if specific U.S. venues become constrained by policy or logistical hurdles. Broadcasters and sponsors are watching these same developments with their own risk teams. They aren't shifting operations or budgets outright, but several have begun incorporating attendance contingency factors into campaign planning. Internal marketing sources describe this as scenario flexibility, meaning their investments are designed to adapt if fan turnout differs dramatically between regions. While companies like Visa and Coca-Cola continue their normal global sponsorship presence, there's more frequent reference to digital activation strategies that can pivot toward higher attendance locations. In essence, everyone is hedging quietly, less about politics, more about predictability. FIFA's balance sheet depends on predictability. Empty seats or travel bottlenecks don't just affect visuals, they can trigger broadcast and sponsor penalties if total attendance fails to meet contractual thresholds. That's why match accessibility remains a core operational risk, not just a diplomatic concern. The organization's 2023 planning report makes this clear. Maintaining attendance levels above 95% capacity across all venues is essential to preserving the event's commercial viability. When visas and travel logistics interfere with that metric, contingency planning stops being hypothetical and becomes part of financial risk management. Local governments are already reading between the lines. In Vancouver and Toronto, hotel forecasts and urban transit models have been quietly revised upward since late 2023, anticipating potential venue expansion or heavier international demand. Mexico's tourism ministry has issued its own statements highlighting readiness to accommodate additional matches if FIFA directs them. None of this signals an official shift, only that both nations are poised to respond quickly should the federation need flexibility. What's unfolding isn't a conspiracy or a quiet coup against the US, but a reflection of where stability currently lies. FIFA's operational approach rewards reliability, and right now, that reliability appears strongest just beyond America's borders. The decisions that unfold from these quiet spreadsheets could redefine which hosts shape the tournament's public face, not through slogans, but through who can open their doors to the world most effectively. The next real question isn't who can host the games, but who still represents accessibility in global sport. Canada projects billions in economic benefit and continues to welcome visitors with simple, long-term visas. Mexico's tourism sector is preparing to handle increased demand if needed. Meanwhile, U.S. entry barriers and visa wait times that now stretch beyond 300 days have turned fairness itself into a public issue. FIFA can either act now or let the frustration shape the outcome later. Should Canada and Mexico take the lead or wait for Washington to adjust? Check out our other video on your screen now to keep watching more.